Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 69 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. We are about to cook up. We're about to have a great day because today's going to be a nice episode.
Was that supposed to be like a joke or?
No, of course not.
Okay. Guys, it's an honor. It's a pleasure to be back. I do want this to be prefaced, actually, that the episode that has just been uploaded should have been uploaded a while before. So, like, any references that are for an earlier period in time, believe me, we had recorded it earlier. But I think that actually kind of feeds into one thing that I wanted to really talk about today. Getting busy. Pause. Wait. I did not mean it like that. Hold on. I meant more so having a busy schedule.
I feel like that's extra funny given...
Yeah, I know. I promise
number.
you. Okay, that was actually unintentional. 100% unintentional. But...
We're off to a hot start.
Yes. I wanted to talk about how life's been getting busy lately.
Nah, that's true.
And not in the good kind of busy. But like there's a lot of things to juggle right now. And if I showed you guys, you know what? Shout out Google Calendar, as always. You guys know I love a goddamn Google Calendar. So if you look at my Google Calendar, you'd be like, damn, dude, where's the time for anything? And I'm like, I agree. What are we doing out here? I don't know what happened. It's full. It's like I'm at capacity now. I go to add new things and there's no space left. Like time has disappeared. But I found that it's not that bad to actually live it. It just looks really bad. So I think something I do want to explore a lot during this episode is how to actually balance a lot of things, how to deal with being busy all the time. But before we get to that, first want to ask you, man, it's been a while. How are we doing?
I was going to say, clearly it's been a while. God, you see, this is what happens when you don't record an episode for a while.
Yeah.
Honestly, the funniest thing is in the last episode that I uploaded, I don't think you've actually watched it yet, have you?
No.
No. Okay.
I lived
So
it, so.
in the beginning of the episode, I think the first thing I said was it feels good to be back on a regular recording schedule or something. And then I said, we're back, we're locked in. And then when I edited the video like a couple days ago, I had to put in a little text box that said, we in fact were not locked in. It's 2 weeks late. And then 5 seconds later, you were like, yeah, it feels good to have 2 episodes up in a row. And then I was like, whoa, let's not talk too soon. We just recorded it. You're like, well, they're listening to it, so it's obviously up. And then I had to put a little thing, we in fact spoke too soon. So it's tragic that we couldn't keep up. But like he said, life's been getting busy, not just for him, but for me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's actually a very chaotic life right now. There's so much going on. But, that's the beauty of it, right? At the end of the day, if you can go through with all those very, very challenging and busy times and still come out on top, that's what makes life fulfilling, right? It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. But anyways, getting back to the main point of the introduction about how I'm doing, I feel like last week I kind of imploded because the stress and the amount of stuff that I had to try and get done in that week, it seemed insurmountable at some times, mainly trying to juggle school and a lot of studying that I had to get done. That was very, very challenging. But aside from that, there was one other huge challenge that I took on recently, which is a focal point for me that I'm going to get to later on in the episode. But aside from those things, I'd say life has been pretty good, especially today. Like I'm gonna get into my day today later on. But the vibes were just good. Vibes were good today, mainly because the weather was good. I feel like the weather being good has been helping out a lot. It's just this when the sun's out, it's harder to be sad.
When I tell you that, like, I'm taking summer classes, and a lot of people tell me, like, dude, I can't study in the summer. Like, I hate the summer. And I'm like, maybe this sounds weird, and most of you guys will probably disagree with me. But, like, when I'm at school, the sun is beaming down on me. Like, it is a good day. I actually don't mind sitting in a room with the sun just coming down on me and studying. Like, I actually don't mind that. Like, don't get me wrong. I love to go outside. We go play ball. We go out. Like, we have a good time. And I love going outside. But, like, some days when I'm like, it's like, would you rather study in like a room on a rainy, like this terrible day and just like you feel like garbage, it's gloomy, or like, a beautiful sunny day? At the end of the day, I got to study regardless. So why not do it in a nice condition? So for me, I actually find that the weather has made studying somewhat enjoyable for me. And also it's like every day I go to school, it's just like this rejuvenating energy. Like I actually feel good to just, drive up the mountain and it's just like sun's just gleaming in the air, and I'm like, wow, life is beautiful. Yeah.
Also, the funniest thing is how much hate our school gets from all the students because it looks quote unquote like a prison because it was designed by a prison architect because it's a bunch of gray and concrete everywhere. But when you think about the location of the school, the fact that it's on a mountain and surrounded by trees, I think that's a very, very good upside to it because the drive up there is not bad. And it's not too long either. So I definitely see where you're coming from, but I also understand where everybody else is coming from because low-key, during the summer, you could be going out and doing stuff every single day normally, but now you have to be super, super locked in, just studying all the time and chained to a desk inside. But I definitely agree that studying during the summertime is better than studying during the fall, but being outside during the summertime is better than studying during the summertime. That's the way we'll put it.
I think I agree.
Yeah.
But I mean, I assumed you were gonna ask me.
I was gonna ask you. Yes.
Actually, you want me to give you the honor of asking me the question?
Sir, how was your week?
It's been weeks, plural. But
how have your weeks been?
My weeks have been good, but it's very interesting because recently I have set my sights on a goal of like a career path that I want, and for the sake of like, I don't think I should air out everything about me. I'm going to keep it under wraps a little bit, but for the most part, it's really nice. It was a really good feeling when I started off, when I was like, oh my God, I finally figured out like what I want to do. But little by little, day by day, it's less of like a joyous thing and more of a stress thing. Because when you're floating around and you're just living, you don't really, it's not as stressful. Like every action that I have initially was just like, eventually I'm going to get to a point where it's useful. So like I would go through school and I'd go to my class and I'd be like, okay, it's okay if like things don't go exactly how I want them because I'll be okay and I'll figure something out. But when you have a goal in mind, it's really hard to have that same mindset because now you're like, everything I have to do is to maximize that ability of achieving this goal. And that's a really scary position to be in because now every second that I'm breathing, it's like, oh, you could be doing this to help yourself. You could be doing that to help yourself. And it's like, I should take a break. I should calm down, you know? But like, I feel that constant like push, like, hey, get on it, get on it, get on it. You need to keep going. You need to keep working. And I didn't have that when I was just living, when I was focused on just like, hey, I want to make the world a better place. That's it. And now it's very interesting to me because I feel like I've gotten what I was looking for so long, but it's nothing like what I thought it would be. Like I thought it would be this nice, beautiful, like, oh my God, like the trees have parted and I can see the path of like where I'm going to go in my life.
The purpose is there.
Exactly. Like I thought it would be so beautiful, but I think that I missed out on the fact that there's a lot of beauty in fog as well. You know, in the uncertain and like that non-clear, when you don't know exactly what that path is, there's still a lot of beauty and there's a lot of things to be enjoyed about that. I think that for me, partially, a lot of the time that I enjoyed in university so far, like I'm talking as if I've been there a long time, but like so far was figuring out what I wanted to do. That was the fun part. And now that I'm there, it almost feels like, dude, you didn't cherish enough when you were just looking. Searching for something is a very fun experience. And I think that sometimes we kind of, like, you know, for example, I don't know if any of you guys have done this because if you guys are around the same age as me, you probably haven't done it too much, but like, Where's Waldo? If you really break down, like, Where's Waldo? The fun is in looking for him. And then once you find him, it's nice, but you don't sit there and just keep staring at him, right? It's not really enjoyable then. Once the search is done, it's like, oh, well, on to the next page. So every time that you find that goal, you're moving on to another page. So you kind of have to close this page behind you. And it's like, for me, I'm now closing this chapter of like searching for what I want. And it's a little bit interesting. Like, it's put a lot of stress, I think, on me in the last few weeks. And I don't want to say that my position's better or worse. I just think it's different. It's not exactly like it's not what I envisioned. Like, you know, it's just really weird. I think my expectations just didn't really line up with reality as much as I thought it would.
This is very, very intriguing for me because on one hand, I get your point about the search being over, but you still have to achieve it. That's the more important thing, right?
I think, like, I mean, the way I framed it is, I know it sounds like that, but it's like, for me, when now that I have that goal, like, as I said, every waking moment of my like day is thinking about it. And every time I go to school, every class I do, I'm thinking, okay, how is this class going to help me get this job? Next, I think about how is every club that I'm going to do help me get this job? How's every competition I'm going to do? How is every interaction going to help me do my job? Right? How is every single extracurricular thing that I do going to help me get a job? How is every single networking thing I do going to get me this job? And it's like, now that there's like this massively consuming part of my life that's just, you're obsessed with getting this thing, which is great. Like, we've talked about how obsession beats talent every time, how obsession is the peak of hard work and mentality. But I feel like one thing that people glorify about obsession but don't like to talk about is that obsession is hard. It's not easy to be obsessed. And once you are, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like, even the people that were obsessed, like, Kobe Bryant, for example, being obsessed with basketball, I'm willing to bet you that there were still a lot of days where that obsession ate him up, where the thought of, like, obviously I know that he loved the sport and he probably would do that every day. He'd be willing to go into the gym and play. But there must have been some points where he was like, I am like, I spent all this time in the gym, but I didn't do anything outside of it. Like, obviously I know he probably lived a life outside of it, but the point being that, like, obsession can eat you up if you're not careful. And that's kind of where I wanted to draw it back to in balance, being like, how do you really find it? Because I think for us, we've both definitely given, like, different opinions on it, whether it be giving yourself, like, that 50-50 work-life balance that people talk about, or living more or working more, Where does that really lie? How do you actually decide it? Do you do it yourself? Do you reach out to somebody else? Do you look at a mentor? Do you go online, go on YouTube, ask ChatGPT? I don't know, right? There's, like, so many questions about, like, how do you actually determine when you're balanced?
Well, I can give you an answer addressed mainly through the biggest thing that I wanted to address in this episode, and that is how I achieved something that I thought was impossible, something that I thought would be very, very difficult, something that most people have never tried, right? And for those of you that obviously have not gone to the gym much, the cut. The cut is something that every single person who, started off skinny in the gym, every single person like that fantasizes about the day where they've put on enough weight where they can finally start to lose some of the fat and become more defined. So the two terms for people who don't go to the gym often are the cut, where you are in a calorie deficit, so you're not eating in surplus of what your body needs, and the bulk, which is you are eating a large surplus of calories for what your body needs so you can put on weight. So for me, I started very, very skinny. For majority of my life, I was very skinny, and I put on weight for a couple of years, right? I bulked for a really, really long time. And then finally, I decided to take on the impossible task of seeing how much weight I could lose in 3 weeks. And this is where that obsession kicked in. You're talking about obsession right now for your career, how every day it's all you think about. For me, those 3 weeks where I was cutting, it was all I thought about. The gym and my diet. That was it. I had an elite level of obsession with this diet, okay? All I ate for those 21 days was chicken and very, very rarely a bowl of yogurt. That was it. Just chicken, and typically one serving. I'd have one big serving of chicken, maybe like 1.5 pounds or so, or a pound. And that was all I ate for the entire day. So you're looking at typically sub 1,000 calories and almost 170 grams of protein. Oh, and also, biggest cheat code was Fairlife as well. Shout out to Fairlife, because those 30 grams of protein helped me hit the protein target almost every single day. Without Fairlife, I definitely wouldn't have made it. And also to condense that into 150 calories, that's crazy, okay? So, point is, I went from somebody who was eating 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day down to someone who's eating sub 1,000. So imagine all the food you eat on a daily basis and then eating a quarter of that for 3 weeks straight right off the get-go.
I don't think most people eat 4,000 calories.
Or sorry, yeah, that's a great point. Hold on.
I'd say like about half.
No, I was saying I meant...
If you are bulking and then you, yeah.
And also, I mean, for me, it's about a third to a quarter of how much I eat right now. So regardless of how much you're eating right now, a third to a quarter.
Okay.
You get what I mean? So just
I get it, yeah.
cutting your diet by the same percentage that I cut mine,
yeah.
right? And I guess I should preface this, the whole point why I decided to take on this impossible challenge was because it was my birthday coming up and I didn't want to look fat.
Real.
Pretty
You know
simple.
what? Fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
pretty simple answer, really. I
Yeah.
don't think anyone wants to be fat on their birthday, but yeah, I spent 2 years putting on weight. So I went from 130 pounds to 178-ish was my heaviest. So about 43 pounds in a couple of years. And then in 3 weeks, 21 days, I lost 25 pounds. 25 pounds in 21 days. That is obsession. That is hard work. And that is doing something very, very challenging. And I learned so much from it, to be honest, because I've never taken on something like that before. And to a lot of people, it might seem kind of maybe not that crazy to think about the numbers. But once you're living it, once you're really trying to lose that weight, that's when you get to experience every part of it. Every moment where you're hungry, every desire for a cupcake or a donut or a milkshake or any of the fast food places you pass on your way home, all those cravings, to beat all of that so you could be diced, that is the greatest feeling ever. And the craziest thing is, I've told this story to a couple of people at school, right? Like some of my classmates have asked me, oh, why aren't you eating anything? Like we have to go in for a 4-hour lab. You haven't eaten anything. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to eat anything until I go home. And that's a 16-hour fast, for example. And when I tell them the whole story about what I did and why I did it, typically when I get to the weight, their jaws are on the floor. And it's a really, really good feeling to get that praise from other people. But the most important thing was for myself, right? Because when I looked at myself in the mirror after losing those 25 pounds, the greatest feeling of accomplishment washed over me. And that's something that I can't say I've felt very often, at least when it came to the physical feats of things. Like I've definitely worked out a lot, but to do something that dramatic, it takes somebody to be a bit crazy. And that's my point when you talked about work-life balance. Work-life balance is not about having a percentage of either at one given time. It's about being able to shift into gears where you do more of one than the other at times. So when you have a lot on your plate and you need to get things done, you're able to turn up on the work side and cut back a bit on, the enjoyment and the balance. You have to be able to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to achieve a lot of the things you want to achieve, right? And if you're able to kick it into those high and low gears, I think that's the most enjoyable form for life because you get to achieve all these difficult things and then also enjoy life. If you're stuck in one or the other, that's when life gets a bit monotonous and boring, right?
See, I think that I agree with you, and I think honestly, I think a lot of you guys should find some inspiration in that story. But the one thing that I have a hard time dealing with is that I think that obsession is much easier when treated as a sprint compared to when it's treated like a marathon. But what happens when you need obsession as a marathon? So personally for me, I can't achieve my goal dream career in a year.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it in 23 days.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it in a year. I can't do it in 2, 3. It'll take me 4 years, right? How long do you think could you have gone eating like that and just constantly cutting weight like that until it was like, damn, I don't know how much more I have left in me, right? I think that even for me, when I first set out on this task, I was like, dude, I got this. I'm going to lock in. I'll do this every day, all day. This is my life now. And now that I've lived it for a little, do not get me wrong, I am still obsessed and I'm having a great time doing it. But I sit here wondering, how long do I think I could keep this up? I don't doubt that I could do it. I never would sit back and take on responsibility that I don't think I could handle.
Yeah.
But I do ask the question, how much could I really do? And how far is obsession going to get me? Because sometimes it seems like I'm just scaling this impossible wall and I'm not sure if there's even a top. I'm just going to keep going and going and going and climbing. And I'm not even sure that there's actually a ceiling or a top that I'm actually going to ever reach. And to me, that's a little bit frightening that even if I'm obsessed and going at it 100%, it might not work out. I think that that's a very scary thing to think about. But, and I assume that a lot of you guys have also felt this way, where it's I'm giving it my all, but I still don't know if it's going to work out. And that uncertainty to me seems kind of terrifying. And I would ask you the question, you know how like all the time people say, it's not about the journey, it's about not about the destination, it's about the journey, right? And these super successful people who have millions and millions of dollars, they sit there and like, yeah, it's nice having, these millions of dollars, but what was really enjoyable was the journey, was the grind to get here. I wonder how many of them would say the same thing if they had failed. I wonder how many of them would still say that the process was fun if they didn't achieve the destination. And this sounds very pessimistic and discouraging, but it is a question to be asked. Never should you go into something with the mindset of you can't do it. I think that if you are going into the mindset with I can't do it, then I don't think you should be doing it because I don't think you're in the right place to do it. When you finally believe in yourself to do things, it becomes, this sounds very simple and straightforward, but it becomes much easier to do them. Having self-faith is the most important thing. I think that's the recipe for obsession. I don't think you can be obsessed if you don't believe that you'll be able to achieve it, right? I think it's just like you need it. It is a necessary part of this like reaction to make you obsessed. But kind of tying back to what I was saying is that, do you think that you can be obsessed for a marathon? Do you think that you could be obsessed every day for a really long time? And if so, how would you go about establishing that?
Yeah, that's a fantastic way to put it because that's one thing I think that trust me, I've acknowledged it myself, right? At the end of the day, just like you said, how long could I have kept that up for? Because to a lot of people, it's insane. Even to myself, right? That was a very, very extreme set of rules I set on myself to only eat once a day and to only eat chicken over and over and over again. But doing that for longer than a month sounds absurd to me, right? It does. But I definitely think that if I had the goal in mind, I could have done it for longer. Not to say that I'm going to do it for years, like your goal, but it's definitely something that is doable. And what I think about is I want to compare this moment to David Goggins because that was one thing that I was really impressed by. In theory, I lost weight faster than David Goggins did because he lost 106 pounds in 3 months or 92 days, and I lost 25 pounds in 21 days. So the ratio for him is like 1.15, and the ratio pounds per day lost, and for me, it's about 1.19 pounds lost per day. But granted, I only had to do it for 21 days, so it is a sprint versus him doing it over the course of 3 months, right? Maybe that's a next challenge for me to try and take on too and see how fast I can, cut in 3 months. But one of the biggest things that I learned that I personally would apply for the marathon lifestyle is to keep the end goal in mind and also to still give yourself little things along the way to keep yourself going. Like those tiny little wins that you have where, okay, you reach a certain milestone along the way. Like let's say, for example, for you, reaching your career requires a certain GPA. It requires certain extracurriculars and certain internships and stuff like that, like to get a career, right? That's what your path is going to look like. So let's say after a tough semester, the 2-week break between that semester and the next semester, you go on a trip or you go hang out with your friends every single day and you just play basketball, you go have fun, spend time in the sun, stuff like that. Those breaks rejuvenate you beyond anything else in this journey. Because for me, once I had done those 21 days of grueling diet and just struggling every single day to not eat more, the 2 weeks after that, I had a great time because obviously it was my party and the food was great. My friends were all around me. Like we just sat around, ate food, and had fun. That was all we did for those 2 weeks, right? Because now I'm actually able to eat because I earned it. That was the biggest thing. I earned it. If you don't earn it, it doesn't feel as good, right? But once you do achieve those little things along, I don't even want to call them little because for you, those bigger steps of a semester, that's quite a long period of time of being really locked in, right? And the main person I learned this from was Rajdeep because when you look at Rajdeep, this guy has that same level of obsession, right? He's also studying all the time. He's always very, very focused on what he wants to do. He's networking with people who are further along the journey, and he finds opportunities to make himself stand out in the field that he's trying to be in. And yet, after each semester, he goes out and does crazy things like driving to Merritt for no reason. Or where did he go? A Soyuz? Okanagan, yeah.
that, okay.
Driving to the Okanagan for no reason in the middle of the night, right? That's the kind of stuff that he does, and he just explores. Those things are good forms to recharge your battery along the way. So I'm not going to say that it's going to be easy, right? At the end of the day, life as a whole is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You have so many years to live. But once you're really, really set on a goal, you just keep going for it and find ways to enjoy and kind of, what's the word? Having your cake and eating it too. It's kind of like, I don't know what I guess like baking a cake and then giving yourself a tiny little slice, or like you bake a tray of cookies and you get a little bit of the leftover cookie dough, something like that, right? You're pretty much putting in the work and taking a little cut of it, but later down the line you get the whole tray of cookies out of the oven. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you really got to be able to invest for the long term. That's the thing.
I think that like I'm really glad that you brought that up. I think that like celebrating little steps is possibly one of the greatest things to keep you on the track.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I think I need to teach myself because I've always been a person that's not a fan of the little steps. I'm always like, like kind of like a job's not finished mentality of like, oh, well, I haven't really done it yet, so I don't count your chickens before they hatch, right? Yeah. You haven't actually done like what you set out to do, so don't celebrate yet. But I think that that's a very flawed mentality, and I hope that a lot of you guys don't step into it as well. Because being a person that has lived it, it's very detrimental to think that way. Because every step is a step. And that's the one thing that I loved about being in that curiosity stage. Because everything I did had meaning. Every single interaction I had, I was like, oh, I didn't know that about this industry or this career path, or I didn't even know this about this person. Because everything wasn't about one thing. It was just like, dude, maybe it's not directly towards a goal, but that's okay. Maybe it'll send me somewhere that I didn't know. Mm-hmm. Maybe it will introduce something that I didn't know. So for me, now that I'm at this spot, I think I need to remember that everything matters. That even those little things, they are success. It's not always just about the end goal. It is about the journey. And even if you don't reach the end goal, you should still be able to celebrate the journey because we're always growing. And I think that that's something that even I have to admit or I need to like internalize is that like you don't just change once you hit the goal. Like you want to be this great person. It's not like some milestone where like you stay the same up until you get to here and then, oh, magically I'm a different person. No, you change constantly throughout that process. It's like a meter that's getting like filled up until you're at the very end. It's not like at 50%, you're the same as you were at 0. No, you've made so much progress. You've changed. You've become better. In a sense, you have done what you set out to do, right? You've made that progress. Every step towards the better future that you're looking for is a good step. So demeaning yourself, being like, oh, well, I haven't reached the end, so it's not done. I shouldn't be happy. It's completely fallible because you did what you set out to do. You improved. You got closer to those goals. So celebrating those little things is so crucial. And I think that going kind of like hand in hand with that is the very mental aspect of like how you think about it. And for me, I'm a very big overthinker. You guys should know this on the podcast. I talk about it a lot. I am a very critical person, and I will overthink literally the smallest scenarios. And it's both, a gift and a curse, I think. But there's this one quote that I saw, and it said, I think and think and think. I've thought myself out of happiness a million times, but never once into it. By Jonathan Safran Foer. And I might have just butchered his name. I really hope I didn't. But I think it's very funny that as an overthinker, or as a human, so many times we'll be able to think ourselves out of happiness. It's not done yet. Well, you're not completely done. This is cheating. You don't really need to celebrate this. It's not that big of a milestone. But if you just flipped every one of those sentences, hey, you made progress. Hey, that's a good step. Hey, you're moving towards your goal. Like, hey, you've become a better person. If you just thought that way, and obviously this sounds so simple, and obviously it's not that simple, but we are so easily able to think ourselves out of happiness. It must be equally as easy to think ourselves into it. And that doesn't mean be happy with nothing. Don't be happy when you stay the same. Okay, I meant, hey, maybe you're a great person and you don't need to change. But for the most part, don't be happy if like your situation's deteriorating or if you're not moving towards a goal or you're not actually happy with yourself. But when you make those steps, take the time to think yourself into happiness. Think yourself into that happy state because you deserve it, because you've made an effort. And effort is the one thing that pays off, I think.
Yeah, it's one thing that you are talking about is internalizing that you're making progress. Every day when I stood in front of my mirror and took the picture of myself, because that's what I did, right? To track losing the weight. Every single day when I took that picture, it was a moment to think, you're getting leaner, you're losing more weight, you're doing good. It was a moment of internalized happiness because I saw what I was capable of, and if I put my mind to something, just how much I can achieve. And most people talk about how hard it is to lose weight or go to the gym or do this stuff. But then this journey taught me one big thing, and it's something I've kind of realized about the gym for the longest time, because I have a hard time sitting down and studying. I have a hard time sitting down and doing homework. I have a hard time doing a lot of things. But what I never have a hard time is going to the gym. I never have a hard time getting off, the couch or getting up out of my house to leave to, lace up the shoes and go to the gym and lift some weights or go for a run or do anything physical. It comes really, really natural to me. And it's because I want it. I want it really, really badly. I want it more than anything. And that's why a lot of people are capable of studying harder than me. It's because they want that more than I do. But I know that I can tap into that now. Just to see that level of obsession for what I can achieve, you can now apply it to everything else, right? Once you've done it here, it gives you such a boost in confidence. I don't think that people talk about that enough. And I realized this because I talked to somebody, funny enough, yesterday, and it's such a weird feeling to know that there's always a bigger fish in the sea.
Yeah.
Right? And shout out to Mia. Obviously, she's never going to see this, but somebody who I met at school yesterday. And I was sitting in the lounge where like my degree is, like the MBB lounge. And I'm sitting there studying and working on my lecture notes for one of my classes with my friends. And we start talking about this whole like food and working out, and pre-workout was the conversation topic. So I start talking about my experience with pre-workout because the people I was sitting with don't go to the gym, right? And they were talking about how one of their other friends keeps trying to convince them to take pre-workout because it gives you so much energy and makes you feel really good. And I sat there telling them about my experience with pre-workout, how it makes you super hyper, it makes you feel pretty good, but your face gets really, really itchy, and talking about this. And then I just see this person like walk all the way across the room to us and sits down, and she's like, sorry, I was totally eavesdropping on your guys' conversation, but I heard you talking about pre-workout. And I was like, this seems like a very interesting conversation. So she sits down and starts talking about how she takes these pre-workout gummies, okay? And that's how the conversation starts. It ends with her telling me that she ran a marathon a couple of like a little while ago, and she got like stress fractures in her feet, and that's why she can't run anymore. But craziest thing is, she told me she started lifting, then she started getting into running, ran a marathon, and then because she had stress fractures in her feet, she started cycling.
That is insane.
Right? And that's the thing. I was sitting here so happy about the fact that I lost 25 pounds in 21 days. I'm sitting here smiling and stuff, and I was like, damn, there is always a bigger fish. But anyways, my whole point with this was I saw how obsessed everyone can be about these things, right? Just watching somebody else come in here and talk about what they did, it immediately made me think, man, look at how much further I have to go, right? And there's always more to achieve, but you still have to be happy about what you're doing. Like when you achieve something, you got to be really happy about it. Like those friends who sat with me, they may not have gone to the gym like a lot, but they have a lot of other things to be happy about. They have their grades to be happy about. They have all their extracurricular stuff to be happy about, their family to be happy about. There's a lot of things that every single person needs to be grateful for. And that's one thing that we don't think about often enough, is we don't have much insight into other people's lives, right? First things first, there is a little post I saw on Instagram from an account called Brain Nourishment. All of you guys should go follow them. Fantastic account. They always just post really, really positive content. But one of the posts that they had up recently was, if you're stuck Are you frustrated because you're stuck behind a slow driver? And then you swipe to the next slide and it says, maybe they're protecting a birthday cake that they're taking to somebody. And then there was a bunch of other slides about how you don't know any. Yeah, you've seen it, right? There's just no perspective. You don't know what somebody else is going through, right? At the end of the day, you have no insight into somebody else's lives. So don't sit here and try to think, oh, I haven't achieved the things they've achieved yet, so I can't be happy, right? Yeah. And the biggest thing where this comes into play is social media, because that's how you get the insight into all these people's lives. You see so much more, right? But did you ever stop for a second and think about the reason why most of these people are posting on Instagram is because their lives are good enough that they can post on Instagram? Most people don't post the beginning. Most people don't post when things are bad. Typically, people start the account when they have something good to post about, right? Everybody wants to show off the highlights when they're at the weekend concert or on vacation or doing something exciting. Nobody wants to post about the days where they're sitting there chained to a desk for 8 hours studying.
You guys really want a very clear case study of this is our channel. There are videos we didn't post because we thought they were bad. Lord knows we shouldn't have posted the first 3 episodes because of how bad those were. But there are videos that even we didn't want to post online because we weren't satisfied with them. They weren't good enough. So I completely agree with you on that sense that you only ever really see what people are willing to show you. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of grace in knowing that you don't really know why other people do things. And that's the one thing that I do want to drill in on a little bit. It's why do you do the things that you want to do, right? Why is it that you are willing to go to the gym instead of sit on the couch, right? Why are you willing to go for a run? And I think it's because, you want to work out more than you want to be on the couch. So for all of you out there that are suffering from oh my God, I can't even bring myself to do this. I don't feel motivated enough. It's simply that you don't want it enough. And that's okay. That's okay. I feel like we are in this society where everybody is always you gotta want it, man. You gotta be constantly chasing it. There's no rest. I'll sleep when I'm dead, And it's it's not really necessary. I think that it's very important to find out what you want to do, to find that drive, to find the thing that you want. But I think that false motivation and false obsession is where people burn out. Everybody talks about burnout, dude, you're doing a lot and you're gonna burn out. But I'd ask you, how many times in your life have you really burned out? How many times have you really gone to the point of I'm done, I can't? And the truth would be, for many people, I don't think it would be very often. And the reason for that is because I think that burnout is achieved when you work so hard on something that you don't want, something that you're not obsessed with. I don't think that people like Kobe Bryant burnt out in the same way, right? But I think the person that's chained to that 9 to 5 that they hate and don't leave, those are the people that burn out. The people that work constantly for the things that they don't enjoy. Now, that's not me saying that a 9 to 5 is not enjoyable, but what I'm saying is you burn out when you work tirelessly at something you don't even enjoy. That's burnout.
Yeah.
But obsession is when you work tirelessly over something that you enjoy because you are willing to work more than you're willing to stay at home. And you're willing to give those things up because it's worth it. You burn out when it's not worth it in your mind. When you're really I don't want to do this. I don't want, exactly. Yeah. How many people, I would urge how many of you guys out there that have a job walk in there every morning and are I don't want to be here. I hate this. I hate every second that I'm here, but I do it anyway. That's how you burn out. Now, obviously, it's easy for me to say that, but having worked at McDonald's, and don't get me wrong, I love my McDonald's restaurant, there was a lot of times where I was dude, I'm strictly I'm doing this for money. I don't even need the money, man. This is the worst day of my life right now. I had that mentality too at times. But the one thing that I learned is that if you're obsessed, it means that you're willing to do it even when you're tired because you enjoy it more than the rest that you'll get when you're tired.
Yeah, and think about right now. If you look at my face, I'm dead tired, man. I have not slept much the past 2 nights. I'm really, really tired, and my head hurts like crazy. We were literally just talking about potentially going to the gym later, and I was dude, my head hurts so much I might just stay home and do an ab workout or something, right? That's how much my head is killing me. My thoughts are not forming the same way they normally do.
Yeah.
Like I can tell when I go back and edit this episode, I'm gonna like face palm 62 different times just because of how annoyed I'm gonna be. Because I should have said that. I should have said that. I missed those trains of thought, and I know I did because there would be an idea that I'd start on, and then when I get to the point of making that final conclusion, the thought was gone. And even though I'm really tired, I'm still doing this with a smile on my face because this is what I like doing. And it's so encouraging because this is one thing I haven't mentioned yet that I totally should. All of you guys who are new listeners all of a sudden, thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
Because this was kind of shocking to me, obviously because we didn't upload the episode for 2 weeks. So I didn't actually get proper insight into our numbers again. But I looked at the past couple of episodes once I uploaded the one that we uploaded just a couple days ago. And I saw that most of the episodes were closing in on 100 views all of a sudden, which was kind of shocking to me because most of them were stuck at around 20. And then all of a sudden they're at 140 or like 80, 70. Some of them were at 140 and even 200 for one of the newest episodes, which is so odd to me because none of our episodes had ever done that good. So all of a sudden there's a bunch of new people sitting here counting on us for content and we're not there. So just thinking about that made me sick to my stomach when I saw those numbers. So to all of you, first of all, apologies again for being late on the upload. But I think that now that we're back into it, God, I shouldn't say it again, but we're back into it and we're so locked in. Editor's note, if I mess it up again this time and don't upload it on time, I don't know what I'll do. I'll do something. I'll do something.
I do want you guys to know this, is that we actually had a conversation about this where we were both gut-wrenched over the fact that we hadn't uploaded an episode, and we were like, dude, we are actually letting all these people down. Like, I know that maybe we don't get a ton of, like, constant viewers, but actually, no, I actually scratched that.
No, for sure.
I actually enjoy the amount of views that we get nowadays. Like, I remember looking back on days where we had, like, 2 views. 3 maybe, and it's like, our mom and dad are 2 of them, you know, and I'm like, damn, and I'm the other one, you know? So it's like, I remember those times, and obviously, yeah, we're not Mr. Beast. I don't care. I'm so happy with the, you know, all of you guys being here and actually, you know, being a part, tuning in.
Yeah.
And that's even another thing I wanted to talk about is from my personal experience recently, you have always been the hard gym goer guy, and I've actually been much more laid back with the gym. And finally, I have found in myself the motivation to be like, dude, let's get up and go to the gym. And it's to say that I've always had a good time. I've never, you know, people always say it, but I've never gone to the gym and regretted a workout. Because every time that I go there, I walk out happier than I was when I went in.
Yeah.
But recently, for the past couple of days, I've been going to the gym much later at night. I'm a night owl. That's one thing that about me is I'm a very much a late night person. I'm not a mornings person. You can ask this guy. I don't wake up very often.
Dude, this guy is comatose half the time. Let's be honest.
Like, I will... The thing is, it takes me a while to fall asleep, but when I fall asleep, I fall asleep. Like, I die. You know, like, I'm a log, and I'm just gone. I'm just...
See, that's
And,
that's the difference between you and me. You're a night owl. I'm definitely a morning... an early bird?
Early bird.
I'm definitely an early bird. Because for me, the workouts hit harder when I wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning to go for a run or go to the gym. That hits harder for me than a
It's
late
very
night.
interesting to me because I actually did that for like a period of time. I would go to the gym before I went to school.
Yeah.
And like this was high school. So like I would go to the gym around like 5 to 6, like, or I think 6, right when the rec center opened. And I would go there and I would work out. And like it was good, but like I did it for a week and I was like, yo, this is cooked. I can't do this. But like even today, like, you know, right now it's like about almost 10 o'clock and I'm going to go to the gym after this because like for me personally, I'm just such a night person. Like I just love the vibe of just like driving to the gym at night. It's like peak.
Honestly, the
It's
crazier
really,
thing
really
to me is the fact that you're going to hit legs now.
Hey man, as much as I may be the most avid hater of leg day, I still respect having good proportions on my body. I don't want to look like a... I don't know how you would actually describe that physique, but I don't want
Dorito.
Dorito with no legs. Yeah.
Dorito with
Like,
twigs.
I would much rather not have that
You
physique.
just have to
so-
imagine that like Tom Platz is looking over his shoulder at all times. That's how you
Yeah, I
gotta
have
feel.
like the audio of Tom Platz talking about like, you know, don't leave the gym a loser, and I was like, wow, inspirational.
I actually have
That's
that too. I listen to
You
that a
put
lot.
me
too.
onto that audio actually.
Did
It's
I
very
actually?
fire audio, yeah. But the point I was getting to was that I've recently found that obsession with the gym of like I'm willing to go to the gym over going to sleep. I would rather go to the gym at 11 o'clock than go to bed.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I enjoy so much more because that feeling, that rush I get of like, moving the big heavy rubber circles is much better than laying down in my bed. Not to say I don't love sleep, but that I've found a reason to delay it because it makes me happier to do so. So that's the one thing that I found. If you ever come across somebody that is like super hyper successful and you ask them like, dude, what's the key to your work ethic? I'd imagine that they would say, I enjoyed working more than I did resting.
Yeah.
If somebody has to force you to rest, that's when you know you're in a good spot.
Yeah.
And obviously, take care of yourself, guys. Don't harm yourself by doing too much. But if somebody has to tell you, like, dude, relax, that's when you know you're in the right place because you're happier to move forward than you are to stand still.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly. Damn, we are closing out this episode pretty quickly. Like that was a great episode, but we have one more thing to get to before we get on to the closing remarks of the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know by now, it is time for the weekly woohoos. So we have a different segment kind of today because last week I did one big story. Today I'm going to give you 3 short, quick stories on good things that happened throughout the week. All right, let's go. First up, Poland. I just realized that is awful because we don't have a pop filter, but Poland.
Oh, sorry, guys.
For the first time ever, Poland, which is Europe's fourth largest carbon emitter, they sourced more electricity from renewable sources than fossil fuels. So to everyone out here looking at the news, seeing all the doom and gloom about, oh my God, the world's going to explode. Humans are, the vermin of nature and that we pollute everything. You're right, but we're working on it. We're
getting better, guys.
Yes.
We're improving.
And that is the most important thing because at the end of the day, I think there's a lot more environmentalists on this planet than people care to admit. There's a lot of people who care about the planet and are doing everything in their power to work on it. And I feel like that doesn't get highlighted enough. So, Poland, good job. Even though you were 4th highest in carbon emissions before, you're doing great now.
Congrats on improvement.
Woohoo! All right, number 2. A game-changing device that preserves donor organs by replicating conditions inside the human body has won the Royal Academy of Engineering's Mac Robert Award. So, as everyone knows, donating organs is a very, very important and life-saving feature that modern medicine has provided us with. That's why you see in Europe, some hospitals have Lamborghinis to transport organs or helicopters, right? To get them from one hospital to the other as fast as possible. But with this machine, they're able to preserve that organ for a lot longer. And where was it developed by? It was invented by Professor Konstantin Kusio.
Wait, so this was this a company that made it or?
Yeah, it was made by Organ Ox, a company, but this professor is the co-founder of this company, and the company is UK-based, and he is also the director of the Oxford Institute of Biomedical Engineering.
Wow.
Right? Bro's got a stacked resume.
It's quite the stacked resume.
It is quite a stacked resume, bro. We might have to friend this guy on LinkedIn.
Might have to add this guy.
Okay, anyways, point is, this technology is not just something that's new. It's actually been used in over 6,000 organ transplants already. So the application is there. It's clearly a successful technology, and to see it get recognition, I think that's a great thing. So again, medical is another place where there's a lot of doom and gloom these days because of how expensive everything is. And I feel like we don't talk enough about advancements, but this is a huge advancement, massive step for mankind. I don't know what that was. Just the way I spoke, I feel like I just ripped a tendon in my jaw.
Well, that's not a woohoo. That is not a woohoo. It's very interesting. The reason I asked you the company is because I know another company that, not the same thing, but they invented a new way to transport organs, and one of my friends pitched it at a competition, and I was like, oh, that's
win?
really cool. Yes, actually.
Really?
So
okay.
Yeah, it was really good.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, final weekly woohoo. Countries are starting to ban smartphones in elementary schools. Okay?
Okay. I want to just preface this really quickly. Is I thought you were going to say high schools, then I was like, wow.
Actually, hold on.
Oh, wow. Did I speak too soon?
Aha! It is high schools. You were right.
Interesting. All right, go ahead.
Okay, anyway, I guess that makes a lot
Proceed.
more sense. I don't know why I thought
Yeah,
it was
I was gonna
elementary
say,
schools. Like
where are these elementary schools?
9-year-olds running around with
Like,
iPhones.
I mean, honestly, like I wouldn't be surprised in today's economy.
yeah,
Kids
low-key.
now, a lot of the kids nowadays got
Got
smart
these
devices.
smartphones, yeah. That's a good point, actually. Because we have friends who are teachers, and they talk about how these kids talk about all these memes, and the only way they know that is because of
No, they're all
technology.
chronically online. I know that,
yeah.
but
So, anyways,
Continue.
okay, getting to it. There's fresh research from the Netherlands talking about how they banned social media and iPhones from their high schools, and it made students more sociable, and they performed better and had better grades, obviously. So, according to a study commissioned by the Dutch government, 3/4 of the 317 surveyed high schools, so 75%, said that the ban had boosted students' concentration, while nearly 2/3 noted an improvement in the social climate, and 1/3 reported better academic performance. So, I would say this is a debatable weekly woohoo. It's definitely a conversation to be had. But I think that a reduction in technology is a great thing for everyone, in my opinion. I think that we've gone a bit too far down the road of these tools. I think they're starting to take away from performance. And this is just a study to tell you, take a step back, because we often are on a downward spiral when it comes to social media and our phone time. Lord knows I've been playing a bit too much Clash Royale lately. I'm not gonna lie. It's a bit canned. It's a bit canned. I'm not gonna lie. But when I need to take a break, I'll literally delete the app from my phone. I'll delete Clash Royale, Instagram, whatever social media I have, just to try and lock in a bit, because man, this stuff is addicting, bro. It's addicting.
it is addicting. It is built to be addicting.
Yeah, because
You know-
I'm setting my sights on like 9,000 trophies, and I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, please.
All right, bro, that's crazy. Like, what are we doing? But I would say, like, with the whole technology ban, it's very interesting because one of the arguments I see from a lot of people for like keeping it is like, oh, we're moving towards a digital age, so being like technologically literate is very important. And I'd actually ask these people, like, do you think that when kids go home, their phones get eviscerated? Like, do you really think that most kids spend more time on their phones at home or in school? Like, that's what I'd ask them. Because, like, how is it that, not using your phone in school would make you technologically illiterate when most of these people use their phones more outside of it than they do within it?
And they don't do anything else.
Like, what I think is that schools should teach you how to use it for academia. Like, for example, the biggest thing is obviously AI. People in the school system seem to look at AI as, like, the worst thing ever. When I tell you that AI is possibly one of the greatest things that's ever been invented, and one of the coolest things for me recently was, as a business major, one of the biggest things you got to do is network people. And what does that involve? Cold emailing. Possibly one of the most terrible tasks in history, of just sitting on a laptop. Oh, let me get this email. Let me type out this message. Or there's even ways to like slightly increase the speed. You can have like pre-made templates and stuff. But what I did was I was like, you know what? Let's just ask chat and see what it thinks. So I wrote out like everything. I was like, I'm a student at this university with like this stuff. I included my LinkedIn URL, and I was like, this is everything about me. I'm trying to build a CRM, like a customer relationship management like system, to like track all the people that I get to talk to. And I want it to be automated. So every time I send out an email, it'll automatically send emails to everybody in my list, and it personalizes them. So, and I was like, I need you to build this. And it's like, okay, I got you. And step by step, walk me through it. And I have a completely automated spreadsheet where I just put in a person's contact information and I just like lay it out. And then every Monday I click one button and it sends emails to everybody. And then it also like gives me the date it was sent, the date that I should follow up, if the date like followed up is passed, if the person accepts the email, and then like it's a whole thing, and it works like a charm. And I know nothing about coding. Like, it's just being able to leverage the tools is the most important thing.
Bro's putting you guys on game.
I am putting you guys on the game of how good AI is when you use it correctly. Like, obviously everybody says that. But like, ask AI for like help to do something. Don't tell it to do something. To ask AI, tell me what to do here. Like, give me the step by step. Break it down. They'll just say, okay, do it, and then I'm done. Like, for me, I had to learn, like, okay, this is where I put in the code. This is where I build the framework. Like, these are, like, this is actually how I build it out. Like, I didn't just ask it, build the sheet and send me the sheet. I said, teach me how to build the sheet. And then it does it, right? Use AI as a teacher, not as a tool. And I'm telling you, it's going to revolutionize, like, your ChatGPT experience.
Give a man a fish, he eats for a day.
Teach a man to fish, he eats for life. Boom! You know, like, I think that I've been going on too long about this, but end of story being, schools should teach you how to leverage technology and, like, leverage it to increase your academic ability instead of just banning it or just leaving it there as, like, a tool. But I think you guys might know what time it is, as I would like to issue a thank you for sticking around to the very end of episode 69 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. But before you guys go, you already know what time it is. It is time for Quote
Of
the
Week.
Hit 'em.
Quote of the week. Nice and simple for you folks today. Without belief, every journey becomes a debate. And that quote is from Mr. Greg Plitt himself.
I don't know who that is.
I'm going to punch this guy.
I would be shocked if you guys knew who that is.
You don't know who Greg Plitt is? You tell me I have to find a picture for you?
Can you just tell me who he is? Like, what did he do?
He's a fitness influencer.
Like,
Tell me you don't know who this guy is?
Coach Greg?
No.
No.
This guy, Greg Plitt.
I have no idea who that is.
You've never seen... Oh, my
Never
days.
in my
Okay.
life have I ever
So
seen that.
Greg Plitt is a very, very inspiring guy. He was kind of the David Goggins before David Goggins, mainly because he was jacked, like disgustingly jacked and shredded. Like he's been on many, many covers of magazines and stuff like that for just how shredded he was. But he also really, really embodied doing the work. And he's a very big inspiration for me. Unfortunately, he passed away in kind of a tragic accident, but he was a very, very great, message to always put in the work, always chase your dreams. But the main reason why I chose that as a goal was because today's episode was very serious, right? Let's be honest. Obviously, we made the jokes about, haha, episode 69. But, but when you get into the nitty-gritty details of what we talked about today, I knew you were going to say that too.
Sorry.
Okay, anyways. Yes, this episode was very serious, guys. Okay. We talked about achieving impossible things, fighting, and trying really, really hard at something, being obsessed with something to the point where you don't know if you can do it. Taking on those challenges isn't always going to be easy, but it starts up here. Before you put anything into action, before you make a plan, the belief that you can achieve it. That's the most important thing, because if you're sure in yourself, you know you're going to get it done. If you look at my life, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to achieve my goals, but I have such undeniable belief in myself that I know I'm going to get there. You know those stupid would you rather questions that Kevin always asks you, where he's like, oh, yo, would you for $100 billion?
Caleb, we cannot say the rest of the question.
Yes, I will not
for
say the rest of
sake
the
not
question,
getting
but
demonetized.
would you do said diabolical action for $100 billion? And I always say no, because if I want to get $100 billion, I know I can do it. That's the thought process. Regardless of what's going on in my life, the belief is there. So to every single one of you out there, no matter what you're struggling with, no matter what difficult task is in front of you, it starts with belief. So don't let your journey be a debate.
Thank you guys once again for sticking around to the very end of episode 69 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. Remember that it's okay to not be sure exactly what it is that you want to do. That every step on a path is a step towards a better future. Sometimes even when you set your sights on something, it's not always the most beautiful thing. But what's really beautiful is being able to wake up every day and take a step. To be obsessed over that thing that you truly love. To be willing to put your best foot forward every day for the sake of success. And make sure you live a positive life, y'all. Peace out.